Hello, welcome to Salt and Light Canning. I'm Jessica and this is my kitchen. I'm happy that you're here. Today I am making some beef bone broth. I've already roasted my beef bones. I put them in the oven at 400 with a little bit of salt for about an hour. And so I have those roasted. I'm cutting up some carrots from our garden. I've just washed these really well. I'm cutting off the tops and I'm cutting them into just roughly chopped pieces. It's not precise, just a little bit. So I want that flavor in my broth. You don't have to add any vegetables to your broth if you don't want to. Just do what you like. But we didn't have any beef broth on the shelf. I have turkey broth, I have chicken broth. I didn't have any beef broth. I'm so excited. It's January. So happy New Year to everyone. Hope that you had the most amazing New Year. Hope you had the most amazing Christmas. We were so blessed. You know what? I'm just excited for what 2025 is going to bring us. God has been so good and abundantly blessed us. I'm just so thankful for Him for everything that He has done. And I can't wait to see what amazing things happen this year. Anyway, a great way to start the year is by canning. And since we're doing winter canning, that means doing broth and meat and pulling things out of the freezer to make space for the harvest during harvest season. If you caught my pantry video, you'll know that I'm already planning my garden for this year, and I'm looking at what I need to replenish in my canning pantry. So one of the things I noticed that I needed to replenish in my pantry was beef broth. So that's what I'm doing. And that's kind of how things go. I look through at the beginning of the year and I go and see what I have on the shelf, how much we used, and what I'll need for this next year. And we have been so abundantly blessed, and I'm so thankful to God for everything that He has done. And I'm excited for what this year has in store. So I have my carrots all cut up. I didn't have any fresh onions, so I have frozen onions. I'm gonna add those to my pan. Please use what you have. Like I said before, if all you want to use is your bones, then just use your bones. There's no rules saying that you have to add vegetables. I just add what I like the flavor of. If you've been on my channel very much, you'll know that we tend to buy like a 50-pound bag of onions and chop them up and put them in the freezer. And then I have bags of frozen onions when I need them. So my vegetables are in my roaster, and the roaster is the best thing ever for doing broth, just an FYI. Now I'm going to add my beef bones. If you're wondering, you can get stew bones, beef stew bones, or soup bones from the store to make beef broth. And I sprinkled them with just a little bit of salt, kosher salt, and then I roasted them in the oven at 400 for about an hour. That just helps the marrow to come out of the bones and makes a better broth. Now with beef broth, you're gonna have fat. If you don't like that, there's lots of tools you can use to take the fat out. I don't mind the fat in my broth. I get all the goodness into my roaster. Now, I don't have celery, but I have dehydrated celery. So I'll add a couple handfuls of dehydrated celery. I'll add a little bit of black peppercorns. I'd say that's probably about a tablespoon. Some bay leaves. I don't know how many that is. A few. and a splash of vinegar. You need the vinegar to help bring everything out of the bones, and it'll just make for a better broth. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill my roaster with filtered water, and I'm going to turn it on to about 250, and I'm going to let this cook for at least 24 hours. It'll probably be 48 hours. But at least 24 hours to really infuse our broth with the beef flavor and get all of that goodness out of the bones. So I'll be back in the next 24 to 48 hours and we will can this up. Well, we're back. Our beef broth has been cooking for a couple of days. You want to, for me, for my personal preference, beef bone broth, I cook for at least 48 hours. I try not to go much longer than that. I have gone 72 hours and it's still wonderful. But you want to at least do 48 hours. 48 to 72 is a really good beef stock. Anyway, I'm going to add some seasoning and then we're going to get this filtered and put in jars. So I'm going to add some of this W sauce. About that much. That's probably what, like 1/8 of a cup or something. And then I'm going to add some garlic granules, garlic powder. I didn't have any garlic, otherwise I would have put garlic in with the beef bones. I didn't have any. Use what you have. We'll do 5 tablespoons. And then I'm going to add a little kosher salt. Do about 3 tablespoons. That is not enough salt to make this whole thing of broth salty, but it does add some flavor. And then whatever you're cooking with, you can adjust your salt content to your preference. So I'm going to mix all of my seasonings in really, really well. And this just smells absolutely delicious. Now, over the past couple of days, I've just come through and I've been adding a little water, you know, because as it cooks, it does cook down. And you want to make sure that you add a little water, bring your water level back up. This is just the easiest, most passive thing you can be canning, and it's just wonderful. I think that is pretty well mixed. So I'm going to strain my broth. What I'm first going to do is turn my roaster off, because that's easiest for me. I'm going to strain my broth. I do it really simply. I don't worry about the fat. I don't worry about any of that. I can take the fat off after it's been in the pantry. It's not a big deal. If you're concerned about fat, there's lots of ways to get fat out of your broth. Look it up. All I use is just one of these sieves and a pitcher, because that's what's easier for me. And then I kind of mix my broth a little bit, and then I do my best to get a nice scoop out, and I pour it through the sieve. I also press a little bit on the vegetables and stuff, because the whole point is to get all of the liquid out of my pan and into my jars. So I press a little bit, get as much of the broth out as I can. This just smells wonderful. It's been cooking over the past couple days and the whole house smells so delicious. Now, if you're wondering about reusing the vegetables or eating the meat, I have found after I have cooked my broth for 2 days, there's really not a lot of flavor left in the meat or the vegetables. Sometimes we'll give them to our pets and they enjoy it, but most of your flavor has already come out and gone into your broth. Now, you are more than welcome to eat it if you want to. I'll share with our pets, and then the rest will probably go into the compost. This is just beautiful, rich broth. I had never known that making your own broth was so easy. So for a long time, I used to buy broth at the store. I have a little bucket here for the waste. Okay, my pitcher is full. I've got my jar, and it's just so easy. If you choose to strain your broth into a pitcher, it makes it so much easier because you can just, there's so much less mess. I still make a mess, okay, but it's a lot less than I make when I was trying to strain directly into the jars. I'm gonna fill to 1 inch of headspace. That's just beautiful broth. Look at that. My goodness. All right. Wipe the rims of your jars. I'm just using a little white vinegar. You don't have to. Some people really just use water. I tend to always use white vinegar. That's what's always worked for me. I have my lids and my rings. And these jars are so hot, just to finger tight. Hot, hot, hot. Goodness. And I'm gonna keep filling jars. Oh, this is beautiful. Having broth on our shelf has just been the most wonderful thing. I'm gonna keep filling jars. I'll be back when I'm doing something else. Well, my canner is full. I have 7 quarts of broth in here. I had the water very hot because my jars and the broth was very hot. So I'm gonna put the lid on. And I'm gonna turn up the heat. It's just been on low. I'm gonna turn up the heat to about medium. And I'm going to bring this up to temperature. I'm going to let my canner vent for 10 minutes out of this vent hole because that's what my manual says. Please read your manual on your pressure canner. And then once that vents for 10 minutes, I will put my weight on and I will bring my gauge up to 15 pounds of pressure. And once it reaches 15 pounds of pressure, I will process this for 25 minutes for quarts. That's according to the National Center for Home Food Preservation. So I will be back when we are all done processing. So we're back. Our broth processed for 25 minutes and we let it come off of pressure on its own, naturally, slowly. We didn't rush anything. We weren't like, let's be in a hurry, okay? And then I took the weight off and waited a minute or two. And then I just barely opened the lid and waited a minute or two. And I've been waiting with the lid off for a couple of minutes now. And we're ready to take them out. Always grab by the glass. Be very, very careful. So everything is still actually boiling in the jar, and it's going to continue to do that probably for the next few hours. And I had some broth for dinner tonight. It's a cup of broth, and it was just so wonderful, so delicious. I don't appear to have had any siphoning, so that's awesome. That means we took things slowly. So these are going to sit on my counter and relax and seal and have a good night. And tomorrow we'll take the rings off and wash the jars and label them and put them in the pantry. I wanted to let you know, like, always make sure that with your pressure canner you read the manual that comes with it and you follow the directions, okay? I've been asked by friends how much water you put in your pressure canner, and I really have to tell you it's in your manual. So my pressure canner takes about 3 quarts of water, but that doesn't mean that that's what yours takes, okay? Please read the manual. Mine is supposed to vent for 10 minutes. That doesn't mean that that's what yours is supposed to do. Please read the manual, okay? Canning is really just about following directions. Then you have delicious food for your family that's safe and preserved, and you don't have to worry about it, okay? So just follow the directions. It's really easy. But anyways, be so blessed. Know that you're loved and be a blessing to someone else. I'll see you in the next video.